First of all, let me preface this by saying that Gaijin has made it very difficult to provide any sort of criticism, constructive criticism for this game, because most of the posts that are made on this forum that are controversial or get heated end up getting shut down and then nothing gets done. On repeated accounts, most of the discussion that I've partaken in on these forums has gone, "Point X is dumb, and you have no idea what you're talking about." Uh, that that doesn't really refute Point X though, and then it just goes into uh, this big storm of circle logic. The atmosphere, this sort of atmosphere takes away any point for critical analysis of this game. After all, War Thunder is an open beta, right? Isn't that the whole point of criticizing aspects of the game so that the developers can improve the game for an official release? That doesn't seem to be the case. Many of the more pressing issues with the overall quality of the game are dismissed by the community, unfairly so, because it's whining or someone's already said something about it, and that's not how a beta should work. If you're the owner of a restaurant and someone is whining about the fact that there is a fly in their soup, you shouldn't just ignore the fact that there is a fly in their soup because you disagree with the manner in which the argument is being presented, especially if multiple people in the restaurant are having complaints about flies in their soup. If the problem still exists, then you should do something about it. And now I'm going to talk about all the problems that Gaijin seems to say that they're working on, but haven't really seemed to have been addressed over a very long period of time. First, flight models. Just to name a few planes that are having that just have issues with flight models as of patch 1.37. P-38 Lightning, of which its performance is just a gross misrepresentation of how the thing flew in real life. If it was accurately implemented, it should be well above Error 2. No, that's not American bias. P-47. Tail is entirely too fragile to cannon fire. P-63 King Cobra A-10 has forever web. The I-18-5 is a UFO. The MiG-15 is also a UFO, and I think it's funny that Russia doesn't have many issues with its planes besides being overpowered, considering Gaijin is a Russian company themselves. If you don't find some kind of correlation there, then you're... That is just a very obvious... I don't even need to elaborate. Vampires had the same crappy flight model since the day it came out. The KI-45s... I'm sorry, the KI-102's hit detection on the cannon is completely off. That doesn't have anything to do with the flight model, but it's worth mentioning the implementation of the KI-45s, because when Japanese pilots were asking for some decent single-engine Japanese planes, we got the twin-engine fighters. Now, I'm okay with diversity in the tree, but that's not what the community asked for at the time. When the Japanese fighter pilots finally got the plane they were asking for, the KI-84, they got a broken, buggy, incomplete mess after months and months of waiting. This is just a list of some of the more frustrating examples. I'm sure I could find more garbage like this, but I'm going to stick with what I have here. The point is, inconsistencies are abound within the flight models of many planes in the game, particularly that of the US tree, and these problems will be understandable if they were solved within a timely manner. After all, this is an open beta, except they haven't been. The P-38 Lightning has been broken since the day it came out, way back when the game entered open beta. The P-47 has had a bad damage model since the day the game entered open beta. The MiG-15 has been a UFO since the day the game entered open beta. The game entered open beta on January 28, 2013. That was over a year ago since the day I'm recording this. And this is a common theme for Gaijin. The Beaufighter was in an inexcusably broken state for a very long time until a more recent patch fixed it. But what about the other problems? They've only been around for a while, one says. Give them time, one says. Nothing screams lazy better than the way Gaijin rushes stuff out. And the KI-84 is the best example of it. How bad do you have to screw up? And I'm not a game designer. I don't know what goes into actually making a flight model, but I'm not a cook either. Why would I serve a dish? I'm going to keep bringing up the restaurant analogy. Why would I serve a dish at a restaurant, test a dish at a restaurant that was clearly that was clearly not at the proper quality that my customers would demand. There's no good answer to that. It's just you just don't do it. You just don't release unfinished stuff. That kind of stuff is unexcusable. Japanese pilots have been waiting for some single-engine fighters, not the KI-102, for a very long time. And that's a response they got. Now, I know that this is Gaijin's first foray in this kind of thing, besides Wings of Prey, the predecessor to this game, into this sort of free-to-play model, but at the same time, work ethic is not something you have to become a successful game developer to get. Work ethic is a thing you just kind of do because you care about your product. Rushing out crap is a common thing for Gaijin to do, and it just adds more junk to what could be a sterile environment. And when people go out of their way to talk about why X and Y of their patches are incomplete or need work, and they get upset, rightfully so, they either get ignored or locked when arguments get, quote, too heated. I understand that there's a difference between critique and whining, but for grown-ups. The most active members on the forums and then on the subreddit are quite mature, at least from what I've observed. And every once in a while, we get ticked off. Someone throws an unwarranted insult around. We feel insulted. We feel it necessary to make a point and add on a well-placed smart-ass comment to get them to shut up. In short, if your point isn't sound, then don't debate it. I'm not going to say that I'm a knight in shining armor, but I've always tried to make an effort not to resort to insults whenever I try to debate a point. Now I'm going to go on to my next point. If it says beta, then you should treat it like a beta. The game is clearly in beta. There are several aspects of it that ought to be finished before it's advertised as a full product. Except it's already being advertised like it's a finished product. Think about it. The in-game microtransactions aren't in short supply. Sales are regularly held for certain planes that can only be bought with cash. Events are held providing discounts on certain planes, increased rewards, etc., etc., etc. So is the game really still in development if it's being treated like a finished product? Like I said, many of the issues that this game has had in terms of balance have taken or took a long time to be actually fixed. And like I said, very often, critique is often dismissed as whining. Controversial topics like RP gain usually get shut down before many people can see the main points of one's argument. I can accept microtransactions in a beta, but it's risky, and there's a reason it's not often done. It implies that you're looking at money rather than customer satisfaction. And I was convinced that Gaijin was looking at customer satisfaction for a long time until this happened. And now I'm going to talk about the tanks. For a time, I was convinced that Gaijin was treating the game like an open beta. And then this happened. I'm sure all of you are familiar with the Ground Forces Task Marathon. If you're not, basically, the way Gaijin decided to roll out their tanks patch was by having players participate in a series of challenges over the course of a month to participate in a lottery. The more challenges you did, the higher your chances of getting in. Invites would be sent out over the course of a long period of time, as long as the beta was being held. When the marathon ended, the tanks packs were announced for the absolutely ridiculous price of $50. You too can have the guarantee of participating in a thing that's only going to last a few months. But hey, you get a tank and some emblems and stuff. I can put up with that. But how many people actually got in as of, say, late December? I ran a poll asking people who participated in the task marathon if they actually got an invite to the CBT when they finished all the challenges in the task marathon, where they finished a little over half, under half. If what I read correctly was around 10% of the people, 10 to maybe 15% of the people who actually finished all the tasks got in. Except the people, like I said, you had the tanks packs. And you paid $50 to actually get in. Guaranteed. There's a lot of idiocy behind that. This is not a closed beta. This is early access. It's Cool Kids Club. Why is it not a closed beta? Because if this was really a closed beta, access would be available to the people who have demonstrated their support for the game and have shown that they can provide proper critique. Or maybe they just could have drawn random names from, say, 70% of the registered active players. They could have done all sorts of different things. Because that's what you do in the beta. You provide critique. How do we know if some 12-year-old wallet warrior is going to provide proper critique of the game that is necessary for its function? Answer: we assume that said 12-year-old will not do such a thing because that is a logical assumption. The whole way that the implementation of the task marathon was just absolutely ridiculous. It was a complete slap in the face of the dedicated players of Gaijin's game. And you can see where Gaijin stands. They let on groups of their most dedicated players and screwed up matchmaking for a whole month to give access mostly to wallet warriors anyway. There's no point in taking the beta argument seriously anymore in light of that information. It's just ridiculous. And I can also gripe about matchmaking. AR3 planes shouldn't get into the matches with AR2 planes. We were promised a historical tiering system for the longest time, and we never got a full implementation of that. 10 months ago. And the battle rating system is just completely inaccurate. Why are ME-262s still flying in matches with F-86s and MiG-15s? That has been a clear problem with late-tier German jets. That's just been a problem since the game's open beta release. Why has that not been addressed? When Gaijin, when the company that you're supporting seems to ignore most of the important issues in your beta, you kind of get an idea that they don't really care about you. And the way I'm saying that can be interpreted as dramatic, but it's true. Why should you support a company that hasn't demonstrated that it actually has a genuine care for its customers, for the people who have put money into it, the people who have put money into their experiment, because mind you, this is still technically an open beta, people who have put their faith in you to deliver a product, and you don't deliver up to their expectations because you're just lazy. In the end, I really want this game to be good. A lot of players want this game to be good. It has a lot of potential, but silly business practices and a level of apathy from its developers are keeping me from enjoying it. And in the end, I'm a sim pilot at heart, and that may influence my opinion on the matter. I never really cared for arcade-style games. I like putting down money. I like putting down money on a product and leaving it at that, knowing that the company I bought a product from has put their effort and passion into that product. And with that being said, I'm looking forward to IL-2 Sturmovik Battle Stalingrad as a result, and I'm sure many other people are too, like me. I'm confident that the company that made my childhood practically will put together a product that is sure to complement my love for aviation. And with that being said, now my YouTube viewers fully understand why I'm stepping away from War Thunder for a little while. I might start making videos again, I might not. I'll see if Gaijin adjusts their ways. But I'm not going to play this game anymore until they demonstrated that. As for me, I'm actually having fun playing World of Tanks. Goodbye.